going to introduce Supna Zaidi. She is the Secretary of Alliance for Inclusive Muslims, and she has a few words to share with you today as well.
I have been given a brief little window as the boring lawyer of the group to talk about one issue and hopefully scare you a little bit the right way so you can support MPV for its ongoing programming in the United States and abroad. But also think about the broader issues that MPV is addressing and how other like-minded organizations around the world are trying to do the same kind of work in much more difficult circumstances, like the stories of the honorees today revealed very clearly. In the United States, when ANI and other MPV chapters create programming and activities and try to educate the Muslim communities about a broader way to look at their values, their principles, the way they live their lives individually as humans within their families and their communities, there's pushback. Worse, when terrorism events happen or crimes happen and Muslims are talked about, organizations like MPV are ignored in the media, and that time on television is given to quote-unquote mainstream organizations because in reality, they're actually just more well-funded, and they're able, through that funding, to act like they speak for all Muslims in the United States. An MPV chapter last year at one of these conferences hosted by a conservative organization was actually kicked out when at their table, all they merely did was include brochures that included language stating, you could be gay and Muslim too. Now, when you look at the lives of the honorees just talked about today, we know that a lot worse can happen to a Muslim that believes in universal human rights than just getting kicked out of a conference. You can die. You can be jailed. Or in countries like Pakistan, where my family is from, you can quote-unquote disappear. What that means, a lot of families still don't know when it comes to their children. So, for me, when I think about what we can do, today it's supporting MPV and its programming. But in a broader sense, we need to all take a step back and think about what's happening globally. There's a rise of fundamentalism happening in multiple countries, and it's also happening in the United States, and it's also not just about Muslims. We see women's rights being threatened. We see minority rights being threatened in the United States. We see the Supreme Court looking at a case about a cake baker. It sounds so innocent. I really hope the cake baker loses. But I hope he also is able to practice his faith in a way where he doesn't feel that it is a good practice of faith to discriminate another person from his own community because maybe that person looks at their Christianity or their faith or lack of faith in a different way, but understands that we all live in one community and we need to find a way to empower our faith rather than use the words religious freedom as a guise for discrimination. So, when I met Ani and started working with her about a year ago to find a way to bring different grassroots voices from Muslim communities together, we, along with 4 others, founded an organization called the Alliance of Inclusive Muslims. We had our first conference last fall where inaugural approximately 30 grassroots organizations from over 20 countries came together in Tunisia. And like Yasmin said, in the United States, we looked around at each other and said, hey, there's other people like me. No one understands what a powerful feeling that is to not feel alone in your identity, whatever that is, that's important to you. And as we know around the world, faith is a huge identity marker. It can fuel so much anger and violence, but it can fuel so much good and positive engagement and work in communities if we simply connect these disparate dots of grassroots activists and give them their support. So I'm here to encourage you to not only give money to MPV, but maybe Google Alliance of Inclusive Muslims in the future as well. Take a look at our member organizations and just keep in mind that there are more people like us trying to do good work that do not have the support of governments, regardless of whether the theocracies, because there are also dictatorships and autocracies abroad, that like a lot of fundamentalist Muslim organizations in the United States, also purport to be the spokespersons for all Muslims in international arenas like the UN. They're not. But they have all the access to the resources to walk into those very important areas and speak on behalf of over 1 billion people. Hopefully in the future, AIM, through our aggressive fundraising right now, we'll have an office in Geneva where we can sit in places like the UN, and when they want to talk about passing blasphemy laws, when they want to talk about not increasing laws for minorities or women, because that's not how we do it, it's not our tradition, it's not our culture, and a representative for AIM on behalf of all its global membership can also raise their hand and say, excuse me, I'm Muslim too, and that's not what we believe. They do not speak for all of us. So thank you for your support today, and I'm very, very happy to support MPV in the celebration of life. Thank you.